The Earth is flooded with seas and oceans populated by sea creatures that are just fascinating from one to another. There are also countless rivers and beaches on the border of land areas. Regardless of the aquatic environment, man has been able to use it to its full potential, whether for fishing, for transport, for trade, or even for his own personal pleasure. But despite the great outdoors, man looked for a way to have fun, far from dangers, far from great depths, in a safe place that would allow him to enjoy the water without having to deal with the natural environment. We will now explore the different ways created from scratch that humans use to be able to have fun and to establish its dominance of water in smaller territories. Let's dive into a trip to the pool.
Yo, potatoes.
Hello.
It's Marco and Nico behind the scenes.
That's right. We slid into that. Yeah, that's it. We slid into that. That's it. That's it.
It's really cool.
In cities that crowd the globe, there are countless indoor swimming pools, commonly known as public or municipal swimming pools. These sometimes have water slides for the enjoyment of visitors. The water slides are often located in water parks or in, most commonly called, kiddie pools. In this case, we were able to find a slide adapted for all people. It is in fact a question of sliding on the water in a gigantic colored tube to finish its course in a long pool filled with water. The subject slides on a thin trail of water and then ends up in a container filled with liquid. In most slides, the people can slide alone or in groups according to the establishment's regulations. In most cases, young people can be observed going down in small groups of 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 people. With more people at the same time, it will increase the weight of the vehicle and help create a greater acceleration. The purpose of this is to circulate faster in the tube and create a strong sensation among its users. At the end of the race, when arriving in the breaking pool, considering that 4 people have taken place in this course, the impact in the water caused by the small group triggers a large splash where particles of water fly in all directions. Usually, this will cause the water to fly overboard and overflow from each side of the pool. Of course, there will always be a lifeguard to make sure that people follow the safety instructions. Another phenomenon is very commonly observed in these interior pools: the diving technique. In most cases, the swimmer will simply throw himself in the water in any way possible to submerge himself entirely in the depths of the pool. This causes pleasure. The swimmer will feel low gravity, another phenomenon that's observable in space. The wilder ones might use a technique called the flip. This technique consists of bending the knees downward and giving yourself a boost and rotate 360 degrees. There is another technique called the bomb. This one starts in a similar way as the previous one, though once the diver is in the air, he must bring his legs close to his center of gravity to assume a fetal position. Doing so will result in a humongous splash once he hits the water. However, there are risks involved. The diver is subjected to high pressure in the ears, so he must hold his breath and get back to the surface as soon as possible. During the jump at the surface, the bystanders can observe the nuclear-like blast that the bomb caused. And to get back to safety, the diver will simply do his best to hold on and even use a meditation technique. He will then be able to easily and safely get back to the surface and continue to have fun with his comrades. We are now seeing, right now, a dolphin in its natural state. What a beautiful creature. Due to recent technological discoveries, we can now take a look at a complex jump directly from the eyes of the diver. In this case here, we can even see the oxygen bubbles rushing to the surface.
I'm floating into the abyss. Is this my last breath? Will these be my last memories? The depth's shadow is the light at the end of my tunnel. The spirit guides me, seeing flesh with no past, and yet I have so much more to do, and suddenly I return to my life by the poolside with my peers. Thoughts torment lucidity.
Diving is a very well-liked activity from people who visit public pools. But this activity is not to be taken lightly. Being careful can help you avoid great injuries. Don't be too reckless just to impress the others. Safety before all. Aquatic environments are full of incredible marine species, some very common and loved by all, like sponges and starfishes, and other more or less unknown, underappreciated, lurking the darkest pits of the ocean, adapting to the most hostile and unwelcoming conditions. However, there is a being that is completely unique who was able to become master of its environment. This creature can reach a size comparable to the tallest buildings in our cities. But despite that, this doesn't prevent it from cruising in salted and chlorinated waters. The Nicola otis is an extremely rare species inhabiting North America. It is found in the province of Quebec, more precisely in the locality of Bay City. The Nicola otis likes to strut in public pools to practice its swimming skills. It can also jump over several miles without even using the diving board. And it can also hold its breath for hours. One single breath is enough for rampage and dominance everywhere, from the most isolated caves to the deepest depths of the ocean. During mating season, the Nicola otis plunges deep into back and forth motion with his right hand to simulate solitary intercourse. He sometimes has to fill up with oxygen after a few hours to be able to perpetuate his sexual choreography. It can repeat this ritual millions of times a day without ever finding a mate. Maybe next time. The Nicola otis is a fascinating being and sure has many more surprises in store. Most of its secrets have, to this day, never been solved. Although public swimming pools are fun places to go, there are times when some people try to provoke the comrades' feelings by initiating them into a merciless fight. It could be a miserable imitation of the big shark from Steven Spielberg's Jaws, to attack a prey by catching by surprise a lower part of the body, such as a foot or a leg. The fight breaks out. The law of the strongest prevails. In a violent fight, in most cases, swimmers fight with their bare hands or feet while trying to swim in place. But when the establishment allows it, young elites may qualify for heavy artillery and ammunition. Not everyone likes to receive a rubber ball in the face. This can cause the anger of some so much that it provokes the pleasure of others. With such destabilization, anyone can call himself king of the swimming pool. Then comes a quarrel of the inland seas. Everyone tries to find their place in this hostile environment. There sometimes exist foam objects that allow us to float easily on the water. But everyone is trying to get their piece of the pie, and a naval battle ensues. Who will succeed in sinking the ship? That is the question. Swimmers use the capsize technique, which consists of overturning the thick carpet of foam to drop its occupants into the sea. In cases where people cannot tip the fleet, you sometimes have to take great measures to be able to make your own place. Heavy artillery still remains the option of choice. But you have to be able to use it to throw a projectile handily while hitting its target. Unfortunately, poor souls end up falling in battle, without even having said the last word. Soldiers fall into the water and sink into the abyss, while others admit defeat and take the plunge into darkness. Although it's just a game, you have to keep your cool. Some will just want to build the biggest craft to sail on the surface, while others will seek to create trouble and fight at all costs in this rectangle space heated by the water heater. In this great marine biodiversity, despite everything, there is a terror in inland seas. The Michelin. It is a creature made of floats in the shape of a donut. This funny species, with a very aggressive character, can throw itself on a target by a frog leap to his opponent. Despite its dangerousness, this does not seem to affect the Nicolas Otis, positioned at the rescue of the small pool. To mark its territory, the Michelin will start to make movement up and down in order to create waves around it. This sends a signal to his fellows that he is the alpha male of the pool. In this case, the other Michelin people will still try to overthrow the supposed alpha male in order to proclaim itself master of the place. The young Michelin is easily noticeable for its low amount of floaters on it. The youngest have only one airsuit, while the older ones can grow up to 6 inflatable donuts. We're going to watch a mature Michelin in action in its unnatural habitat. It can be noticed that these movements are quite limited, and that he can easily become prey for his own offspring. When the old Michelin falls into an horizontal position, it becomes at the mercy of all the aquatic species present in the paddling pool. To mark their superiority, swimmers have fun pouncing on the old Michelin. The eldest is then courted by the rest of the pack. After a good breeding session, the old Michelin will be prepared as a meal for its predators. So you have to be extremely careful when venturing near the Michelin. This species can sometimes be dangerous for swimmers and for young children. After attack against the defenseless old Michelin, we can observe 2 young men attacking a Nicolas Otis. To attack the prey, boaters will jump into the water and practice a splashing technique that involves returning the water to the victim in the water until it's completely soaked. Nicolas Otis will try to extricate itself from its unfortunate position. Only the sound of lifeguards' whistles will be able to save it from the predators. If, of course, the lifeguards are on the lookout. Public pools are places that are all about fun, and they are all full of creatures just as fascinating as one another. We go there to be able to practice swimming movements, to go sliding in water slides, and to be able to create thrills. But also, we are just going to have fun with friends and have a good time with them. With a little imagination, we can go on an adventure in a great naval battle, or even become an astronaut and go for a walk in space. Of course, everyone must respect the safety instructions to avoid creating a real drama that could lead to a catastrophic consequence. However, it is 100% possible to respect the rules and have an incredible journey at the pool.